Hello everyone, welcome to the video, and today we're going to be talking about some Caustic tips and tricks, as well as just an overall general guide of how to play Caustic for if you are a beginner player, or if you are an advanced Caustic player and are just looking for a couple extra tips that you might not have known. So this guide will be helpful for pretty much anyone, unless you're like an advanced expert Caustic who's like top whatever in the world, in which case I probably can't help you because, you know, I myself am not the best Caustic in the world. But either way, these tips are going to be solid and will definitely help. So let's get right into the video. So coming in first, we have his passive, Nox Vision. You gain threat vision on enemies moving through your gas. And then next up, we have his L1, which is his tactical, which is the Nox gas trap. You can place up to 6 canisters. Obviously, you guys know how the gas works. And then he has his ultimate, which is the gas grenade. So let's just talk about the passive a little bit. We're going to be moving left to right. So first up, about the passive, one thing to note is that it also works for other caustics. You can see and move unhindered through other caustics gas if you are caustic. You don't get the threat vision, so you will not be able to, they won't glow in the green that other opponents do, but you still gain the ability to move through it freely without any movement speed penalties, and you can see pretty clearly through it as well. So that's just one thing to note in case you are fighting a caustic. Any caustic can move through it, and that's another thing to note even if you are trying to hold down an area, and if the enemy team has a caustic, you know, just be aware that he can run right through your gas and it will not be a problem. So the next thing I want to talk about are his actual gas traps. There's like a ton of ways of using these, so I'm just going to try to go through as much as I can, but I just want to say before, I will probably forget some tips just because it's really hard to name them all. I always end up forgetting just a few, and like I said, I'm not the best caustic in the world, so if I forget anything, just comment below. If it's a really good tip that I missed out on, I'll pin it. So yeah, just do that if I forget anything. But first up, we just want to talk about the general uses of caustic's traps. As you guys are aware, caustic is primarily used for defensive play, but you could also use them offensively. So for his barrels, one way of using them very defensively is you can use them for cover. Like the barrels are actually an excellent source of making your own cover, and I've even seen players like bunker down in a little corner. And basically, like, what I mean by this is let me grab 3 barrels. Like, say the ring was like closing in, we'll say right here, and it's closing in over there, and I really have no cover. I've seen a lot of caustics, you know, just throw a couple barrels and then hide back here. Now that's unfortunate. That happens sometimes. You're able to push the barrels. I don't think you can really do that on command. It usually just happens if you're inside of the barrel. But you can try to push them, but that's kind of useless. So what I'm talking about here is just, you know, bunkering down, and you really ideally shouldn't move. You could even shoot the traps. I accidentally picked that one up, but these are an excellent source of cover. Like I said, don't move because then they'll go flying out. But I've seen people do this a lot in last circles, and it's very effective, especially if you have no form of cover. You can use the gas traps for cover, and they work very well. So another thing to note about the barrels and using them defensively, or almost like a kind of last effort, if you're just a solo or whatever and you're trying to hide, you can actually place the barrel and hide in it. So this is like a decent strategy because people will usually just avoid the barrels if they see them. They won't exactly shoot them, you know, so it can be pretty helpful if you just hide inside of it, because people will generally just avoid it. They won't try to shoot it, and it is a little bit difficult to see the caustic if he's just crouched inside of the barrel. People will just avoid it. They won't shoot it, and it's a good source of hiding. And even if they do shoot it, they're not going to shoot your body. They're just going to shoot the actual barrel, and then you'll have enough time to, you know, do whatever you need to do, throw more barrels in case you get seen, but that's usually not what happens. Another tip I have for the actual barrels is how to shoot them. So this is more of like a tip against caustic as well as like a tip for caustic. Basically this little bottom part, as you can see here, if you shoot that part, the barrels break. If you shoot the top, the barrels do not break. So you can even shoot like there and they will go off, just as long as you don't shoot this like striped part right there, or like that, because that will break the barrel. So if you're like trying to actually use it for cover or hide behind it and you accidentally shoot the bottom, you're gonna screw yourself over, so just be careful of that. And as well as if you're pushing another caustic, just shoot the bottom of it. It will take out the barrel immediately. I wouldn't advise shooting your own barrels on the bottom because that's just a waste. You could easily pick it up, or just leave it there. It doesn't really matter. But since you can hold up to 6 barrels if you are locking down an area, a really good method of doing it is just locking down every door. Caustic works very well inside of houses. Sometimes he gets grenade spammed out of them, but if you put the barrel like in front of a door, it will block enemies from coming in. When they open the door, it will trigger the barrel, so it'll be even more time. You just kind of have to be on top of it. The best way of using caustic in terms of in terms of actual defending an area with his barrels, you want to set up early enough so you can put enough barrels like on every single door and every entryway. You want to have a barrel blocking the door, and then you want to be there long enough so they can recharge, and you'll have 3 more just in case they try infiltrating, and you can stop them that way. So another thing about caustic is actually shooting the barrels for cover. And what I mean by this is if your teammate goes down, you can easily throw one barrel, shoot it real quick. I had messed it up, but and then throw a couple more outreaching barrels, and then that way, if you can see right here, it covers a lot of area. So if you're behind that barrel getting the res, chances are people will not actually be able to see you, and it works very well, especially with the ultimate. That little combination of being able to get your teammate up because you will have the cover from the barrel, and then you will have the gas everywhere preventing anyone from pushing in. So you kind of use it in terms of you kind of use it for zoning. It's very effective for zoning, so it can be very beneficial, and you almost get the res 99% of the time. It's really hard to push a caustic if he just starts launching barrels, even if you get a knock. I mean, because he can drop the res. If you push into the gas, you can drop the res and just laser people, because for his passive, he can see people. They light up bright green, so that's one thing to note. So another little trick that a lot of people don't know is that caustic actually kind of counters Bangalore. So what I mean by this is if Bangalore smokes, right, and caustic throws a barrel in there, you can see through the smoke. So the smoke's disappearing, obviously, but if you just throw your gases through smoke, you'll be able to capitalize on it really well, and you'll actually be able to see everyone in the smoke and be able to run them over pretty carelessly. So if there's a Bangalore launching smokes in the fight trying to create confusion in your caustic, it can be very beneficial for you to either ult in the smoke or just throw a couple barrels down and shoot, because then you'll be able to see through almost like a bloodhound with his ult. So next up I want to talk about his ultimate. His ultimate's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, I don't really know what else to say about his ultimate. I think a good tip is to carry around a couple accelerants, because his ultimate is very slow charging and it's also very valuable. So you can use his ultimate offensively, which is obviously a really great way of using it. So as you can see, if you just throw it onto enemies, they'll get destroyed by it, and it's very effective, especially with pushing a building, or even defending. You could use it very well for defending a building if they're trying to push in. Just ult. I mean, it stops people from pushing in. It gives your team a whole lot of time to heal or whatever and do whatever you need to do. So you could use the ult defensively or offensively, but I'd say the best way of using the ult, especially in ranked, you want to save your ult when it starts getting late game. Unless you obviously absolutely need it, I would be saving Caustic's ult for late game, and that's why it's especially useful to carry around those accelerants, because sometimes you are put in situations where you absolutely have to use it, and when situations like those happen, it's nice to have a couple accelerants, because when the circle gets very small and a caustic ults, I mean, they basically just win. So if you're caustic and you're at the end circle, it's getting really small, and you have your ults ready, you guys are gonna win, and that's just how it's gonna go. I've had caustics pinned down in just terrible position, but they just throw a bunch of gas out, shoot it, and then ult, and there's just nothing you can do. They see through the smoke, they see through the gas like a hawk, and they just mow people down. So it's very difficult, especially with the movement penalties, to fight a caustic, especially when You know, the circle's very, very small. The storm's ticking for like 25 if you actually only get hit by it, so there's really just nowhere to go. So that is one thing you should be trying to do, is just you know, keep your ultimate on standby, especially for the end of the game. Obviously, like I said, don't be scared to use it. I'm not saying don't use it, but you should try to have it at late game. I've seen a lot of Caustic mains carry around ultimate accelerants, and it has helped us win games a lot. So in terms of the actual ultimate, if you're using it defensively, just throw it at your feet. You could even use it to like get away. I wouldn't suggest doing that unless it's like, you know, you're the last person left or your team's 100% gonna die. If you don't, like, that's the only time I'd say you burn Caustic's ult, just because it's so valuable. It can be used very, very effectively when pushing. So you don't want to waste it, and I would say only use it when it's absolutely necessary. Defensively, that is. Like, if there's a team pushing into your building and they're just like relentless, they're pushing in no matter what, I'd say ult in the building or ult on them. That way you'll be able to destroy them through the gas. So I'd say the best way of actually using Caustic's ultimate, like I said before, is the offensive way. There's nothing worse than a Caustic canister getting just thrown on you. It's like terrible. As you can tell, it's like it scales up in terms of ticking. So it'll hit for 4 or 5, but the longer they're in the gas, it will hit for more and more until it hits 10, where it caps out. So it's going to be doing a lot of damage, and the ult is very, very effective. So another thing about the ult is its interaction with Gibraltar bubbles. So I don't even know if this is going to be able to... Okay, so I'm going to throw it real quick. It bounces off of Gibraltar ults, but it does seep through the bubble, so the bubble will not save you. But if you just launch it at the Gibby bubble, it will bounce off and, you know, mess up. So you just want to throw it at like the base of the bubble. So what I mean by this is, like, you know, if you're throwing the dome, you just want to throw it like there. You could even throw the gas inside of the bubble and then shoot it. That's a really good tip for the actual gas canisters. And I actually don't think I talked about using the gas canisters offensively. So you can use them pretty well offensively if you just, like, you know, launch them really. And you could use them as a good way of zoning during fights as well. You can use them as cover. They're very, very effective if you use them the right way. And don't think just because Caustic's like a defensive legend that you can't use him offensive at all, because with his ultimate and the barrels, you can use him pretty offensively. Like, you can throw the barrels pretty far. You know, if you were like launch them, like, that's a pretty far distance, and then you shoot it right after, and you can do a lot of damage with it. So I think that's pretty much it for today's video. I think I covered just about everything. There's really not much more I have to say about it. If I forgot anything, obviously just let me know in the comments below. I usually do forget a couple things, so don't grill me for it. But that's pretty much it for today's video. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.